some of the people I was like, hey, there goes Phil Knight. And I was like, I'm going to go say something to him. Like, I'm going to go talk to him. So I went over to him and I said, hey, Phil, hey, Phil Knight. I think some coaches actually introduced me at the time. They're like, yeah, this is Kayvon Thibodeaux. I stuck my hand out, gave him a handshake, and I told him, I'm like, you're going to make my shoe one day.
The it factor, the most overused and undefinable phrase in sports. If you have it, everyone knows it.
Trent McDuffie applying a lumber.
The qualities that many desire, but very few possess.
Dropped in the backfield by Thibodeaux.
Well, what really is it? Who has it? And how did they get it?
Britton Covey gives Utah a jolt of momentum.
That's what we're here to discover. We'll take the helmet off the Pac-12's elite performers to learn more about their journey towards success on Saturdays. I'm Yogi Roth, and welcome to the It Factor. Welcome back. You know the show. It is the It Factory, where we dive into the it factor of elite athletes, performers, coaches, all in Pac-12 football. And the goal is to take the helmet off. So here we are again. It's 72 and sunny. That's how it is on the West Coast. Coming to you live from Venice Beach, California. We're going to punch out to Eugene, Oregon, an LA native, Kayvon Thibodeaux. Thanks for joining the show, man.
Thank you.
Yes, for sure, man. You've done a lot of these interviews. So I'm hoping we have a blast with this one. You are a aspiring media personality as well, man. I've watched you do a bunch of interviews. You've got a great comfort around that. But I want to ask you a question regarding comfort level. When you were a kid, I read that you got kicked out of a Pop Warner game because it was too physical. When that happened, what was that like for you, as someone may have told you to kick off the field?
Well, it wasn't like a personal kick out. What happened was guys were getting hurt. So I think it was like seven players that got hurt. And my coach, I guess the ref went over to my coach and told him, like he's done, he's had a good game. We were winning, and he was just like, he's done. So my coach told me, don't go back in, right? He was just like, don't go back in. And it's funny. I think back to that time, I went back in the very next series. I went back in, my coach looked away. I went back in, I got an interception, and then that's when they called it. Like, the game was over.
I asked that because I think it's so easy when you get to study a little bit about you to think of you as the form, right? Big, long, athletic, wreaks havoc on an offense. But I want to dive into your essence today. And that's one of my favorite phrases, man, form versus essence. So when you think about that for yourself, how would you describe your own personal essence?
I feel like it's very controlled. A lot of people play with a lot of emotion and a lot of anger. But once you can kind of control your emotions and just play and kind of hone in on the different techniques and really let your eyes be your guide, you can really control the game and, stay poised.
Okay, so let's dive into that. You as a kid in South Los Angeles, where did you develop the skill set to manage your emotion?
Realizing, I think I was about 5'10" in the 5th grade, and I was 6'3" in the 6th grade. So it was like, after a while, you have to realize you're the biggest one, and everyone's waiting to see, what's going to come out of your mouth or what you're going to say. So at that point, I said, how can I make it the most intellectual, the wisest thing as possible? And from there, I've just been able to kind of hone in on it and make sure that, people really take heed to what I'm saying.
Yeah, I always talk. I got a younger son. He's 6, and we're always like, all right, man, we got to talk about it. We got to take a breath. For you, like the meditative aspect of life and management of some of those emotions when you might be bigger than everybody else, was that something that you may have tapped into, the mindfulness side of yourself, without even recognizing it?
No, my mom and my mentors around me at a young age really had a big impact. Basically just saying, being so big and being in the city, you have to realize that, a bad decision can kind of change your life forever. So I had to understand that, no matter what happened, my mom would always say it's the devil. If someone is teasing you, someone is messing with you, someone is trying to get you off your path, just look at it as the devil and don't run towards the devil, run away from it. So that's kind of been the mindset.
Wow. What's your mom like?
Very stern. She experienced life, at a young age. So she wanted to make sure that I could really fully understand, the things that would come my way. So she was very real, and she kind of gave me that, real world understanding without, giving me too much as a kid.
Yeah, it felt like there's been a spotlight on you since you were a younger athlete. I read some articles about you when you were in high school, and people saw you as a star then. How did you see yourself in that regard after the tutelage of your mom?
I still, it still was really kicking into me, like, because you don't really get paid as an athlete, you don't really reap the benefits. Like the media and the coverage is there, but it doesn't really kick in until you start getting to college and it becomes real. And it's like, now we can actually, make the money off the name, image, and likeness. And now we can really show ourselves as professionals and really, profit from it. So now, it's starting to kick in and they're starting to have that, surreal moments. But back then it was just like I was still playing football, still just trying to, live out the dream.
Yeah. What was your dream? Like, did you have a tangible goal when you were playing?
For me, it was always to be the best. Once I started realizing that sacks what I had to get, then I started looking at like, who were the guys at the time that I needed to. It was always the record for me. Like that's always kind of been my thing. So in high school, I would tell everybody like, I'm going for 30 sacks. Like once I think I got 20 in 1 year. Yeah, I had like 20 sacks back in high school, and I always thought like the next year I'm gonna get 30. I have to, just because like that's the record, and it's like if I can do it, I got to do it.
I love that. So process versus outcome oriented goals. Like to get to that outcome, you got to have a process. How did you develop that, and what is it?
Well, back then it was very open. I didn't have a set plan because I was still new to the game and I was still new to understanding the game itself. But I'll always, go game by game. And now, having all these practices, having fall camp, you realize you don't just stack the days, you stack the reps. So being perfect on every rep, having those, not wasting any reps. That's where a lot of guys don't really realize when you're trying to get through something and you're trying to get to the end, you waste a lot of reps in between. So if you just look to the next rep or the next play, you can maximize your outcome.
Yeah, what was it like for you as a child competing? Like, was your neighborhood full of a bunch of players you're always playing and balling?
I think it was schools. The thing about it is like a lot of kids, they go to the same school and they play for the same Pop Warner team. So being in school with a lot of guys that I played with was really fun, playing on the, on the yard and stuff like that. And just, I think it was competition within myself. Even back then, I realized because I was the biggest, it was never like, okay, I need to find somebody to go against. It was always like, okay, I did this last week. Let me try to do this week, or let me try to one up myself every time.
Yeah, I love that about you. I read that you said, quote, my childhood has been compact. That's part of recruiting. You can't always be a kid. Would you say that you like grew up really fast, or did you try to hold on to the childlike elements of being a young kid and having fun?
I feel like I grew up fast, but I grew up moderately. Me growing up fast, I guess, helped me understand that time wasn't on my side, if that makes sense. So basically, me going through high school, I was able to value the moments I had and still, respect the game and respect the time and have appreciation for the work that needs to get done at the time, so that I wouldn't be left behind, or I would still have fun as a kid, but I would still keep going forward.
Yeah, keep pulling on that thread. Didn't have a lot of time. Like, what was the relationship?
It was just realizing that, a lot of people feel like being in high school, that 4 years you have being in college, they feel like, oh, like I can't wait till it's over. Like I was saying before, like I can't wait till it's over, or it's so long. But you realize, my mom would always say, like, you're lucky you have, be as kid as long as you can. Because once you're an adult, it's the same thing for the rest of your life. So at the point, it probably didn't come to me until about 9th grade, 10th grade, where you start realizing like, man, the decisions I make now are going to really be with me for the rest of my life. And I talk to my friends about it all the time. Like, if you think about who the people we knew, who they were in high school, they're the same person now. It's just it's grown. So if you were a Cancer back then, you're just, it's taken over now. So you got to really, hone in who you are young and kind of manifest that life in the future.
Yeah. When you think about that, was that direct from mom to you around, you are the company that you keep?
I mean, yeah, my mom, my grandma. I mean, after a while, playing football, it really, people would tell me like, you have something here, like in 8th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, people were telling me like you can be the number one pick in the NFL. Like, and it was, I didn't even watch football at the time, but it was like, what does that even mean? And as you get older and you keep hearing it and now you're seeing it and now you're growing, it's like, okay, well, what do I have to do to get there? Then you start realizing like, okay, the best way to get to a goal is to go with somebody. But if a group of people are going away from the goal, you don't want to be with that group. You have to go alone. So for me, it's always been, okay, how can I either find someone that's going to help me get to that goal, or how can I separate myself from people who don't have the same goals?
What your first name? Do you know what it means?
No.
So I looked it up, and at least according to Babynology, and it says known to be a star in the sky. And I know you have a tattoo. I believe it says the chosen one. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Why did you get that tattoo? When did you get it? Is there a story behind that?
There is a story. So basically, I got it right. I wouldn't say I came to college and then I went home, and I got it. And for me, it was really realizing, like, God gives you gifts, right? That's what I've always been told. God gives everyone a gift, and everyone has a purpose, right? And I felt like my purpose was to understand and to educate. And I say that because I have a great understanding of things at a younger age. Like now I can move with any group or any age of people and understand what they're talking about or what's going on. And then I can relay it to my generation or younger where they will understand it. So I've kind of seen myself as kind of like the bridge between generations and the bridge between understanding, and really showing guys that, I'm not in this position because of any luck or anything like that. Like, I was chosen to be here, and now I've had to, through my whole life and through the people around me, kind of grow and really embrace the life that was chosen, that I chose and that chose me. So, and even to go off that, it was basically just having that gift. Like, my mom ran track really young, and she would always tell me I got my athleticism from her. But no one in my family has really been able to accomplish their dreams, or no one is able to have the support system, to even have the opportunity. So me, I felt like I was afforded all of the opportunities that, someone like me could have used to grow, and, I used them correctly, and, now we're here.
I love that. Understand and communicate. How crystal clear is that, man? When I look back on your career, I remember meeting you in high school, right? You from Dorsey High School to Oaks Christian, and I connected with you at the opening. And I remember seeing you and Willie McGinest, and I was like, those two they look like they're related, right? The way that you carry yourself, the way that you played on the field, from a point of understanding. What was the journey like from Dorsey to Oaks to the opening to then to Eugene, and how are you able to communicate that journey for you?
Well, first switching high schools was really big. I felt like, there were a lot of people that I've known in my life that really helped me with the change of environment. It was kind of like a culture shock, but for me, it wasn't, because my mom really made sure that I was well-versed in the people that I saw, the people that I was around, the people that I interacted with. So I was able to kind of jump right in and swim with the fishes, I guess. So, and that's kind of what I did. So when I got there, it was very different, but I was able to adapt, and I was able to gain all the resources and all of the positive things that could have, pushed me to be where I am now, and kind of put it all together with what I already knew. And it formed me, and it helped me make the decision to realize that, okay, when I transferred from Dorsey to Oaks Christian, it's for a reason. I didn't just come here to play high school. I didn't come here to just go to school. It was to understand that these next 2 years is going to help set up for college, and it's going to help, and those 3 college years are going to help set up for the rest of my life. So at that point, I felt like I made a big, like LeBron's decision. I felt like I made a big decision that was going to impact me for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And then when you connected with Willie, I'm curious, best piece of advice that he gave you, some of your dialogue and relationship have been?
I mean, Willie McGinest is a great, as always. He's one of those guys that just knows so much because he's been at every level of the game. I actually learned that day that we're kind of from the same city, even though he's from Long Beach. He grew up and we know the same people, so that was really dope. And yeah, when it comes to football, I mean, I don't want to give out the secrets, but just from the techniques and the eyes and the keys, and I mean, he's told me stuff that I'm still using today. For example, he always said, take space, don't create space. So for edge rush, you never want to go around somebody. You want to go right through them.
Yeah, I heard that. All right, so I want to hear how would you describe your mind? Because I know you talked often about playing chess. As I hold the chess piece here, um, to play that game, to attack in that game, to take space in that game, you've got to have strategy. And I'm curious how you describe your brain and how it operates.
Okay, so I have a friend. I'm playing him in chess all the time, and he's always told me like I'm really aggressive when I play chess. So I feel like my and it's kind of how I play football and to relate it, right? So for me, I'm very aggressive in chess. I always tell him he's gonna move how I want him to move, right? So I put myself in certain positions to make him react off me, no matter if I go first or second. So, just to relate that to football, that's pass rushing. I'm gonna set up those first two moves to make sure that you guess, but I know what you're gonna guess because it's based off of what I did previously. So I kind of put you in a situation where you're vulnerable because you're thinking about what I did before, and I know what next move is coming.
Yeah, I got to imagine then, like quarterbacks, for instance, are trying to hold their bluff, much like a counterpart in chess would be for you. Justin Herbert, one of the best at controlling that bluff, and why?
He never talked. For me, I always know that once, because I like to get in your head. I realize that 90% of the game is mental. So if you talk back to me and I'm on defense, I got you. Justin never said anything. He'd smile, good job. He'd line back up, and then he'd hit you with a check, or he'd hit you with something that just threw off my game. And I had to realize, like, wow, that's different.
Something's different, I think, in Coach Cristobal and how he recruits. It seems like it's just genuine and relentless. And you were part of what was dubbed the Cali Flock. I remember the day that DeAnthony Thomas left Los Angeles to go to Eugene, the day that you made your decision to go. What about him do you think continues to attract some of the top players in the country?
The development.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, it's more than just development, though. I think it's the understanding that you will be developed alongside you'll get the truth. It's hard. It's hard for high school athletes to go to college and just trust. I'm supposed to trust that someone is going to help me accomplish my dreams, and you don't realize how much of a business football really is until you get to college. But I feel like he does a great job, and he has a great record of not only developing guys, but being truthful, helping guys understand when you get here, what are you doing to stop you from getting on the field, or what can you do to help you get on the field, where it's not just, oh, this is a cookie cutter program where once you're in, you do what you do, and if you don't make it, you're out. It's not one of those things where people get kind of lost in the cracks. Here everyone has the opportunity to develop, and he really cares. There's not a lot of people that get to constantly communicate with the coach, and I feel like he has constant communication with a lot of his players.
Yeah, I wonder about that. Like, I think a lot of times head coaches, I've been in college ball for over 20 years now. You become the quote unquote head coach, right? And you lose the personality that got you the job sometimes. For you, you've seen him in intimate settings. I was with you and him at media days. How would you describe the relationship that you two have, not just developing you as one of the top players in the country defensively, but just developing as a young man about to get his degree and finish college?
I feel like he's one of those, and I hate to say it, but he's one of those like annoying big brothers. And I say that to say because, no matter what kind of day I'm having, he's going to make sure that I'm held accountable, so it's always like, here comes coach, like you're waiting to look for him because he's going to say something, whether it's not always bad, it's not always good, but it's always coming, and that's kind of his motto. Like, he never lets up. And it's been great for me. I've been nothing but appreciative for having him, because I know a lot of people aren't afforded the same type of accountability that this coach gives us. So, it's great. And he really pushes us to be our best. We always talk about there isn't any soft, if you want to make everybody happy, go sell ice cream or something, so it's a certain things got to get things have to get done a certain way, for it to be right.
Okay, so speaking of right, you made the right decision. You go to Oregon and you immediately dive into media. You had a vision, right? You said earlier, understanding and communication, the back half, communication. You got to understand how to communicate and the modalities in communication. What have you fallen in love with around the art of storytelling?
I think I fell in love with how people receive it. Just being able to tell your life story and show your life story, and to kind of show how much it means to you, and then to see how people receive what you're saying, and seeing people understand it and seeing people take heed from it, I think it's kind of like the best thing.
Yeah. If you had to kind of put your life story in different acts in a story arc, how do you think it would roll?
Give me an example.
So the intro would be you growing up in South LA. That might be.
Oh, you're talking about a movie. If I had to write a movie.
Yeah, if you had the acts of your life in a script, curious what you think they would be.
I'm not gonna lie, I actually have something in store with that, so I can't.
You can't go there.
Can't tell you.
All right, can't go there.
Be on the lookout for the documentary. That's all I'm gonna say.
As you should. I think that so often athletes feel like I can't control my own narrative, and I think it's different. I can remember my freshman year in college. Larry Fitzgerald was my roommate, and I was kind of his big brother. And the game ends, and we showed up at the game with a suit on. We got to leave the game with a warm suit on. And he puts his actual suits, shirt and tie on after the game. I say, yo, Fitz, you don't have to do that. You can wear warm-ups. And he goes, Yogi, looks me direct in the eye. People are going to know what I'm about from jump. All right, so speaking of that, the title of this is The It Factory. I think some special players have it. They got a multiplier element to them where they feel like 2 or 3 or 4 people. Do you think you have it? How would you describe it?
The it factor, I think I would describe the it factor as being able to go get it, regardless. And I say that to say, whether it's football, whether it's life, whether it's business, whether it's activism, I am going to do it. Once I set my mind to it, there's nothing that can stop me from achieving my goal. And I think it's that competitive spirit, but just being successful in whatever sport it is or whatever category it's in, it's kind of like always my main goal, to always see it through to the end and never really quit or give up, or when adversity hits, you just hit adversity harder.
Yeah, I heard that. I always think that sometimes in football, in life, in adverse moments, we lose joy. Curious, here you are, your 3rd year, you're going to have your degree, you're Heisman candidate, you're one of the top players in the country. How much joy do you have right now? And do you think you're maximizing every moment that you have on that campus?
Well, me personally, I'm such a narrow line guy that I wouldn't say that I'm maximizing. This year in particular, I don't think I'm maximizing my outside time as far as enjoying the moment. You get so caught up in being the best, and really, like, football has become every moment for me. And I love it, just being able to dominate the game and understand the game. And it's so crazy because I feel like the more you learn football, you like unlock another level of understanding. And that's kind of like the best feeling to me, is like, okay, it's like in a video game where you unlock a move for a character, like, wow, now I can do this move, or now he can do this now. And that's how I feel in football. And I feel like that's what kind of brings me joy right now. And I feel like it'll keep bringing me joy, just being able to constantly get better. I feel like COVID has had that impact where now you can have a central focus and not, be so sporadic with everything you're doing. So for me, it's literally been business and football. Well, not even, it's been football and business.
Yeah, I wonder, like you said, a great word there, unlock. I wonder if this NIL world has unlocked you to take a swing at some of the things creatively that you're really into, to be the artist athlete that I would define you as.
It really has. Just the idea, I had a friend, he passed away, and I think it was almost 2 years now, and he wanted to be a movie writer. We've talked about a couple movies back in the day, but now I've kind of really taken that step and saying, this is something that I want to do once the time comes. So I've been kind of meeting with people and having those different conversations on what I could do and who I could talk to kind of get into that world.
Okay, so speaking of talking to, I got to ask, first time you met Phil Knight, do you remember what it was and what he said?
So the first time I met Phil Knight, it was Washington versus Oregon. And we were on the field. And some of the people, I was like, hey, there goes Phil Knight. And I was like, I'm going to go say something to him. I'm going to go talk to him. So I went over to him and I said, hey, Phil, hey, Phil Knight. I think some coaches actually introduced me at the time. They're like, yeah, this is Kayvon Thibodeaux. I stuck my hand out, gave him a handshake, and I told him, I'm like, you're going to make my shoe one day. So I said that. He laughed and smiled. And then it was really cool at the moment. and just to go into the story more, because the story doesn't end there, but after that, I committed and I went to Oregon, and I would see him after every game, and I would say something, and I would say, "Hey, Uncle Phil, how you doing? Don't forget about my shoe." I just bring it up, and then it was one time I seen him. Last time I seen him, I said, "Hey, Uncle Phil," I was like, "When are you gonna make some shoes for some big fast guys?" That's what I said, because cleats are made in like 3 different perspectives, right? They have the small cleats for the really fast guys, for the low weight guys, and then they got big cleats for really heavy O lineman, D lineman. And then they got like the middle cleats, but those are more like defensive line, 280-pound plus guys, right? So they don't have any guys for like that are built kind of like me, which are in the 250, 240, 250, 260 range, that are really explosive and fast. So, we got that ball rolling, and, there's something in the works.
I love that. I don't know if you can see on my set here, but I got Oregon Ducks Jordans. Rob Mullins sent me those. I'd be curious what the design you end up rolling with your shoes, man. You said earlier in your life that like being a lawyer was an aspiration. I know we've talked filmmaking, playing. There's a lot of ideas that we've talked about creatively, but I'm curious, if you could create one law that we all had to abide by, what would it be?
I think it would be to pay it forward, right? If I don't know how you would kind of really implement it or uphold it, but I feel like a law that will really be good for society is just like anything you learn or anything that is like culture gets passed down, so I feel like anything you learn in just life, you should be forced to pass it down to the next generation.
Yeah. Who's somebody most recently that's passed something down to you, and who's somebody that you've passed something down to?
Well, I have a mentor. His name is Antonio Patterson. He's my best friend's father, and he was the president of my Pop Warner team, and he just passed down so much game, that was just like, he just helped us really understand life, from like discounting and using coupons, and just how to understand numbers, and just things that like you don't really pay attention to, but when you get older, you realize how valuable they are. And for me, I feel like I pass a lot of stuff I know down to everybody. Like dudes on my team, I really make it my point that anything I know as far as pass rush, as far as football, I let them know. Anything I've learned from the opening or from a camp or from Willie McGinest or from this guy or that guy, I make sure that I pass it forward, and I let them know and show them how to do it, so that they can either use it, and if they don't use it, somebody else will.
Yeah, rising tides float all boats is the phrase, right, man? I think that's really interesting, because we're in an era where it could be all about like, take my picture, it's about me, or what is my experience like? When you do share, coming from the seat that you're in, what do you feel the reaction to be for those that receive it?
It's great. The thing about me, I'm more of a all the time person, like I tell you. So the hard thing about being the guy who shares it all the time is that it comes off as you know it all.
Yeah.
But it's not, for me, I always say like, it's not that I know it all, but I know what I know. And I take pride in making sure that if I'm going to say it, I know what I'm talking about. So, and the greatest part is I'm still learning. So even if I tell a guy something, if they have something to add to it, I always tell them, I'm like, the only reason I'm telling you is so that you can take what I said and use it to your advantage. Don't listen to me, have your own thoughts and formulate them together, and now use what you have and take what I have and put it together. Now you're better than me. I always put it like that.
That's well said, man. So many people have interviewed you. What's something, if you can give one line of advice or wisdom or knowledge to those asking you questions, what do you think it would be as your campaign and your 3rd year at Oregon begins?
Be somebody to somebody. Yeah. People will remember, the people will remember what you did to or for them longer than you will.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I was at the Heisman when Marcus won it, and his speech to me to this day, I've been around the Elite 11 for 15 years now, I thought it changed quarterbacks, because it was so much about, as he referenced, his ohana, his family, and not about like just him. And I hear that tone from you too, man. Have you connected with him in that regard? Because you seem to have similar spirits in terms of giving things away.
Marcus Mariota is one person that I actually haven't connected with. I've met him once, but I've never really sat down and picked his brain. And I actually really want to. So, that'll have to get set up eventually.
I think I know somebody that can make that happen. He's probably in your building right now. And lastly, before we get you out of here, man, the shirt you're wearing, Oregon, the logo behind you, you get fans to come back to Autzen. You haven't experienced that outside of a freshman campaign. I got to imagine you're juiced up for it. If so, what would you like to share with them about you and your story as they come to cheer on number 5, but know that there's a person underneath that helmet?
As a team, I feel like we make mistakes, but one thing we're going to do, we're always going to fight. No matter what happens, we're going to stick together and we're going to, lay it all on the line and play till the whistle blows. So I just hope that they have fun and enjoy, being back out there. But regardless of win or loss, we're going to give it all to the end.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love how you play. I've loved it since high school. But, man, I love the man that you continue to develop into, understanding and communicating, man. Thanks for your time and being here at the It Factory.
Thank you.
You got it, Kayvon Thibodeaux, Oregon Ducks. Appreciate you stopping by.